Post the LinkedIn says you're not. Whoops, LinkedIn says you're not approved. I should take the LinkedIn off. Remove. Yo. Man, oh man, oh man. Man, what a knockout. What a knockout. Hold on, guys. I'm just making a post for Instagram. I'm trying to get my Instagram people in here. You know what I'm saying? But Jesus, we're gonna talk about it. I know what y'all came here for. We're gonna talk about it. Let me just go ahead and get this link real quick. Put it up to my here we go. Share the link. I could put it in my swipe up. If y'all don't already follow me on Instagram, make sure y'all do. Jesus. Tank Davis. The man to talk about, man. First, let me go ahead and give some shout outs out here. We got Chewy Postman. What's going on, champ? All right, we got M4. I ain't even gonna say the rest. DG, whatever. I already know. Morris, what's going on? All right, we got Nate Ford, Jose Garcia, Zay, no excuses. You already know. Nico, what's good, Nico? We got Con Omega and no Enigma. Con Enigma. We got Runner 1985. Man, I need my money back. I don't think you need your money back from that one. Yeah, we're gonna all have nightmares, man. The King 23. You know what I'm saying? We got a lot of people here. A lot of people in here right now. You know I can't start this without somebody though. The one, the only, the fastest, the most ferocious. Fast Eddie Chambers. What's good, baby?
You said ferocious?
Look, I gotta take a bang, man, because it's late. I was gonna go to sleep, but man, you can't go to sleep without talking about that.
I like it.
So talk what you see, man. Tell me what you saw, and I'll tell you what I saw.
From the time I was able to see the shit, excuse my frustration and my language on that, but they had me on a little run around with the fight, but it was good. It was real good for the time it lasted. There was a lot of back and forth. Even when I was able to see, start watching, there was some back and forth. Santa Cruz was doing a lot better than I thought he was going to do, to be honest. But the ending was exactly how I expected it. I didn't necessarily expect him to get knocked unconscious like that. But Tank, I knew, was more explosive, was faster, not as busy, but he had the technical ability along with the speed and power. And I knew eventually the cream was going to rise to the top, and that's what happened.
Man, as soon as the first round started, man, I was sitting here watching this fight with my girl, and I told her, I said, the minute I seen how he came out, he was coming out, whop, looking for that left uppercut. I was like, if he gets the knockout tonight, it's going to be by an uppercut. Now, I didn't necessarily know that he was going, hands high, walk him down, and then rip the uppercut the way he did. But I knew it was going to be an uppercut because he was looking for it literally from the very first round, the moment the fight started. He was looking for an uppercut. But I was very impressed with how Leo Santa Cruz held his own. I actually had the first 3 rounds going back and forth a little bit. And I was scoring it because if it went to the decision, I wanted to go ahead and, but I was actually noting next to each round, I was saying toss-up round. Because if we would have went to a decision and there would have been a controversy like we had at the Lomachenko fight, I would have been like round 1, 2, and 3 were all toss-up rounds. We can't be very clear on who won those rounds. Those rounds are very back and forthish. But when you seen Tank lock in, you knew what he was going for. And I thought he was actually going to have some issues trying to do it, but he got but right before he knocked him out, I'm going to let you talk. Right before he knocked him out, there was a shot that hit Leo Santa Cruz in the back of the head. Now, I know I asked you earlier if you saw it. I don't know if you went back and looked, but they were in the middle of an exchange, and Leo Santa Cruz got hit in the back of the head. And I'm not saying that caused the knockout, but I wouldn't be surprised if it played a part too, because it was in the middle of an exchange, and the referee didn't say nothing about it. I don't know if you caught that. Did you catch that?
I think I might have missed it, but I know in around the time it happened, like I kind of, because when I say I definitely missed it, but there were exchanges that got a little bit, not sloppy or anything, but they got a little crazy, and it could have easily been, and he's coming forward most of the time, Leo Santa Cruz, so he could have came inside a little closer than he wanted to and got caught with a left hook in the back of the head easily. So yeah, I could definitely see how it could have happened. I'm not sure exactly when though, but you were saying right before the knockout, definitely could have played a part.
Like it was definitely. It was right around the time. It was right around the time right after he got hit with the low blow.
Oh yeah, okay.
He got hit with the low blow. He was walking it off, right?
Yeah.
You could tell that he was trying to buy some time. And then when he decided to go back out there and fight, there was a few exchanges where he was going back to the ropes and his head kind of dropped. And I seen a shot land in the back of the head. It wasn't like deliberate, but it happened. And then I think that, and then as you seen him stumble back into the ropes, and you seen Tank just walking, ripping, looking for the hard shot. You know what I mean? I mean, you saw the way he got knocked out. I mean, that was like when Manny Pacquiao got knocked out by Marquez. It was that kind of a vibe. Like he was knocked out.
Like, scary. Like the shit looked like, what is he okay? Like, is it going to be one of those situations where the guy, you know what I mean? It's scary.
I hate to say that, man. There's been a lot of those lately.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff like that where you're kind of like unsure, when you're like, damn, man, like I hope this guy pulls through, man. And one thing I will say is that Leo Santa Cruz proved and showed why he's a 4-division world champion. He showed that he is a champion, and that can happen to anybody any given day. What happened to him? You know what I'm saying? He was the fight.
And that's his style too. That's his style. He comes forward, he throws punches, he puts himself in the line of fire. He was dealing with it, pretty decent earlier in the fight, but Tank didn't really land all of the shots to get all of them. You know what I'm saying? He didn't get all of them like he did, obviously, that last time. And there was a couple times he landed some good shots, but you could tell he kind of rolled them a little bit. But it was just, to me, it looked like it was just one of those situations where it's a matter of time. You know what I mean? As good as Santa Cruz was doing, I was like, I just don't know how long he could sustain it. It was making me like, eventually you're going to get caught with some of them shots. Then you start seeing it in that last round, in the round even before it. They kind of made you say, yeah, he's starting to land. He's starting to get, he's starting to feel the effects because he's bombing it. And then, go ahead.
I was going to say, in round 5, it kind of looked like Tank separated himself a little bit.
Yeah.
Started to, he wasn't getting touched as much, and he started to actually place that left hand to the body a little bit. And he was actually doing some things that showed that his boxing IQ was working. And, the first few rounds, I think he was trying to establish his dominance, but still Santa Cruz was giving him resistance. And then I think round 5, he showed that he has boxing ability and he has a good boxing IQ. And then round 6, I think he just said, enough's enough. I'm going to get this kid out of here. And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, we see that. Yo, and in that round 6, like people was talking about how great they you can see the announcing guys, the pundits, they were saying like, yo, Santa Cruz having a great round. He's doing this, he's doing that. And I was watching what Tank was doing, and he was just stalking. He was only interested in big shots. And at that point, it was because he didn't feel that Santa Cruz could do anything to stem the tide like that, to stop his advances. He thought he was just going to be able to walk straight through, and that's what he was doing. Periodically, he would sit back a little bit, take a half step back or whatever to kind of see what was available. But you could see he was looking for them big street sweeper uppercuts and the big hooks, and it was like the opportunities came, and he knew he could land that left uppercut with Santa Cruz, and because Santa Cruz leans forward a little bit, especially when he throws and commits to those shots, he threw that straight right hand. he went right up under it with that left uppercut and ripped it. And he put his hopes and dreams into that. That's just the way he fights. That's just how it happened. And see the ending. Sad for Santa Cruz because he was really putting together a good fight. It was an interesting thing altogether. But man, it was a beautiful shot. Beautiful shot.
So talk to me now. Where does Tank Davis go for here? Apparently, he has 2 belts in 2 divisions, 130 and 135. I did not know. I did not know that he had belts in 2 weight classes like that right now.
So I'd be like Henry Armstrong.
They say he made weight relatively easy. Honestly, I don't know how easy it was. Yesterday, he looked a little bit depleted. What do you think? Do you think he stays at 130, or do you think he needs to just go ahead and just, move up in weight?
It all depends, man. It all depends on the fights, in my opinion. Like if he's going to get good fights at 130, if he gets a fight that can really, make him even more of a star than he is right now, I think he goes to that fight. But if he feels like moving up or staying at 35 or going to 35 or 40, whatever, I feel like it's the fights now that dictate that. Nowadays, it's really like the belts are important for these guys at this stage. But like you look at Floyd, when he was fighting, after a while, the belts were like almost irrelevant. It was like it's a Floyd Mayweather fight. So it was like not so much that they were irrelevant, but it just wasn't that important. It was like Floyd and Pacquiao kind of was above the belts in a sense. Like they weren't really needed. So with these guys, they're trying to work their way to that point. So I feel like at this point for these guys, it's the fights that are going to dictate where they go. If you're a 2 division champion at this point, meaning what I mean by that is you're holding belts in 2 different weight classes. I feel like you let the fights dictate to that. You know what I mean? If he feels like now he can headline a pay-per-view card and there are fights at 130 that'll get him big money and big buys on pay-per-view, then he'll take that one. But if it's 35, he'll go up there. Have less of trouble, dealing with the weight and opportunities, more opportunity there. I don't say more. I mean, 130s too got opportunities too. But like I said, it's either way.
Let's put my man Nico Mandico here. Can Davis beat Devin Haney or Teofimo Lopez, or for what you saw tonight?
Oh man, you asking me? He looks every bit as explosive as anybody in the division. Big puncher, speed, even technical. Obviously, the technical ability and all that too. It's hard to say, man, because he was in there with a different kind of fighter than the other 2 that you mentioned. So it's like when you put him in there with Lopez, you're fighting. He's not a mirror necessarily, but they're similar. You know what I'm saying? It's who's tougher and who's willing to take. I think they're both willing to take chances, but I just don't know, honestly.
Do you think a Gervonta Davis can beat a Teofimo Lopez? It seems like Teofimo Lopez has nice reach. Mm-hmm. He seems to be a little bit taller than, and he seems to be punching just as good and can box. But what happens if Tank? You know what I'm saying? Like, what do you think, man?
That's what I'm saying. Who got the best beard, basically? You know what I'm saying? Who could take the best shot? And I know that sounds like a little ridiculous. What about the strategy and all that? It's like when you got 2 excellent boxers, 2 talented guys, there's going to be smaller things that separate them. And with those 2 guys, they're both explosive. They're both power punchers. They both seem to be tough and obviously dedicated and continue to improve their craft. It's really hard. Sometimes it just comes down to who's willing to take more, who can take more.
How about a Lomachenko? Lomachenko just lost. Do you think that Lomachenko and Tank Davis match up? That's an interesting one.
It's very interesting, but it goes into the same situation as when you look at Lopez. It's like it depends. I feel like Lopez is obviously a little more rangy than Tank. Is his distance a little bit? So I think that Lomachenko will be able to hang a little closer at times than he did with Lopez. I know at this maybe like, wait, hang closer. Well, he doesn't have to get back as far. He may actually be able to box and let shots go at closer range than you know what I'm saying?
I feel like Lomachenko would have to. I feel like the way Lomachenko fought 8, 9, 10, 11 Teofimo is how he has to start. with a Tank Davis because he has to establish some sort of respect. You know what I'm saying?
He does, but it's the same thing with Lopez. You take the chance on going in there. You're also taking the chance on getting caught with one of them ugly ass shots. So
you think that Lomachenko got the defensive skill to avoid a guy like Tank for as many rounds as he avoided Teofimo, or at least be able to keep
he got the ability.
Tank brings a different pressure.
He does, but his pressure sometimes a little reckless, and I think he'll fall victim to some of the things that Lomachenko does so well. And when you bring the fight sometimes to a guy that's slick, it may pose a problem, especially if he's used to being in reverse. And Lomachenko, I feel like can fight in any way, especially defensively. So, and I think Tank is every bit as dangerous as Teofimo.
I feel like Lomachenko fights actually better being the guy setting the pace. When he sets the pace, he seems to do the better work. He's able to utilize his head feints, which in turn turns into a left-hand lead. I should do it from this position. Turns into a left-hand lead, which turns into a pivot. He does things offensively very well. When he puts the back foot, I feel like he's vulnerable. I feel like Lomachenko has to be the guy giving you the feints and making you react off of what he does, so to speak. So as opposed to trying to counter what you're doing. You understand what I'm trying to say?
I hear what you're saying, and I agree with it to a degree. But as we saw with Teofimo Lopez, he was in reverse for most of the first half of the fight.
And that's when he was losing.
Right. But he also setting the pace. He was not setting the pace. He was also setting them up. He could have been throwing shots earlier. It would have been dangerous, but he could have been throwing more shots earlier. As you've seen in some of those rounds, that one round, like 2 and maybe 4, that you were thinking about giving to him, he was a little bit more active. He landed a couple of shots. He could have done more early, but it's like, why do it when I'm putting myself at risk, unnecessary risk at this stage, when I can wait a little bit and then it'll be almost like I'm just.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. I feel like when he boxed Teofimo, he was trying to wait Teofimo out a little
bit.
When you got a guy like a Floyd Mayweather, so to speak, who actually baits you in, sets traps, hits you with check hooks, do things, right hand leads, and goes to the ropes and gets you to shoot shots so he can shoulder roll you and counter off of the shot. That's the guy who does good going backwards. Lomachenko seems that when he's going backwards, he's just being inactive. And then when he decides that he wants to be active, that's when he looks good. Like he looked good 8, 9, 10, and 11 because that's when he said, enough's enough. I'm gonna go in now. And every time he's ever looked successful is when he's the one setting the pace, whether it's through feinting or through actually letting the hands go. You know what I'm saying?
That's true, and we haven't seen many fights where he was like on his bike, you know what I mean, so to speak. But what's the kid he fought? I don't know why I can never remember his name. The guy we moved up the fight, the first one. I cannot remember his name at this point. No, not even him. But that's a good one. Not necessarily him, but him. Let's say him because he's a come forward guy, big puncher, you know. And I don't know.
He was on a very long layoff, a 1-year layoff when Lomachenko got him, just to throw that little. Nicholas Walters wasn't being very active.
Right. That's true.
Lomachenko was hot and Walters was cold. But go ahead.
Right. But what I mean is, regardless, it doesn't matter as long if there's a guy that's trying to pursue him. And I've watched some of his fights, and there's times periodically where he's pursued and he's on his back foot and moving around and all of that. And I see what you're saying. He's generally better as a what they call a front runner who's coming forward, dictating the pace, being the guy.
Not necessarily being a come forward Mexican guy.
Right. No.
The pace. This is how the fight's gonna go.
Right, but see the thing with him is, I feel like he keeps people so uneasy about what he's doing. If he is coming forward, you know what I mean? Even if they are coming forward, they're still hesitant. Even if they're not, even if they're just in front of him, they're hesitant to be offensive. Is if you watch a lot of guys who have high punch outputs and then they fight Lomachenko, their punch output drop. The same thing when guys with high punch outputs fought Floyd. They drop because you're so unsure about what they're doing. It's almost like sometimes they may be inactive, but there's a method to the madness. And when I'm looking at Lomachenko, even if he's going back, even if he's coming forward, he's just effective in every way. Not necessarily as effective offensively going back, but he can be. And I feel like sometimes his plan, and from what I've seen, it all depends on what he's planning to do. And a lot of times that stuff is on the fly, as you've seen in his last fight. I'm not saying they didn't plan that in camp, but they might have planned it in camp to, take a little bit off and not try to rush into it and go into the fight, busy, especially with a guy as dangerous as Lopez. So, but then we got in there, he realized when Lopez put his hands on him a little bit, he's like, yo, I gotta wait a couple more rounds than I thought. You know what I mean?
Now let's talk about the fight that was earlier today in the UK, man. We can't forget about Chisora and Usyk. Did you watch that fight? I watched it.
I did. Well, actually.
I was very impressed with Chisora's approach.
He tried.
I think he did very well. I don't know what the scorecards were. I didn't stick around for the final scorecards.
Missed it too. We were talking actually.
Yeah, we were actually on the phone talking. But I will say I was very impressed with the strategy. I felt like he had Usyk very confused, not confused, but a little bit overwhelmed. Like, man, I don't know about the with a guy this big. Pause. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we have to. You know what I'm saying? We have to. But seriously, I mean, I don't know if he felt he belonged in the ring with a guy of that stature, and at the same time, I just felt that Chisora, if he would have just been a little more patient, worked off his jab a little bit more, he might have been able to pull it out down the stretch, but he continued with the same punch selection. And I think that once it got a little bit stale, it was like Usyk was able to find himself and adapt. You know what I mean?
Right, 100%. I like that analysis of it because, but you know what I feel about those types of situations too? It's like when you look at Chisora and his only opportunity really to be effective in the fight is sometimes the awkwardness and busyness of his approach. And sometimes the awkwardness of it is really more so than even the busyness of it. The fact that he was coming in sometimes southpaw throwing weird, crazy shots was something Usyk was kind of like, what is this crap? You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, I never really ran into it.
Chisora was doing, that's something that you and I worked rounds in the gym. I'm not sure if we should give that away to YouTube because I want to do some. Are you available to do some videos tomorrow?
Yeah. We can get it.
Gentlemen, me and Eddie gonna drop some new heat for YouTube for y'all. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know if we should give that one away because that's something that we worked in camp.
Yeah. For when sometimes you want to chill a little bit on letting.
Too much, bro. Like we can't. Either way, he was pulling it off decent. If he had better technique, he might have been able to be
right
effective because he was effective. Well, I'm not gonna touch on what the technique is because then I'm giving it away. But you saw what I saw.
Huh?
I said you saw what I saw. You saw the move game.
Listen, when we weren't before, like, because I was watching the fight, we talked about it after. The first moment I seen him doing, I was like, damn, okay. I see him trying to, and he was even actually sitting at southpaw some of the points. You know what I mean? Which was good. But some of the movements he was making was like, it looked a little bit like weird. Like it was like, nah, like I don't really see what he's doing. But then you see some of them shots land. And then you also see how uncomfortable that Usyk was at times. And it's like, first now you dealing with a different weight class. I always tell this, and I remember the late, great brother Nazim always said, like, yo, the heavyweight division versus all other divisions is a different world. It's hard to be a real top dog in the heavyweight division.
Can you talk to the people real quick? Because for the people, for the millennials, I'm pretty sure at this point, anybody who banged with me know who you are. Like, you might have some kids in here who are 16, 15, 14, 13. You're one ever before their boxing. For those of you guys who don't realize, Fast Eddie Chambers is one of the best fighters in the heavyweight division. When he was boxing, I'm going to say actively, I still believe he's one of the best. If I can get this guy to actually, come out of retirement, many retire, whatever you want to call what he's in. But, can you tell the people what it's like being a smaller heavyweight? Because Usyk is kind of in the position that you was in 10 years ago, being a smaller heavyweight, having to fight these giants. Can you explain to the people how difficult it is and the mindset going and fighting a guy 30 pounds, 40 pounds, 4 inches taller, and the anxiety and just the intimidation? I don't know if that intimidated you, but a lot of people are intimidated by bigger people.
Yeah.
I was gonna say bigger men, but that felt very inappropriate. Pause. You feel me? But at the same time, can you just tell us the mindset and what does a man have? Because you're one of the nicest people I know. So when I see a guy like you step up to the plate and have to fight a person like that, it's like, where do you find the courage to say, you know what, man, I'm about to just handle this? Like what do you have to do?
Well, you look at the guys who fought before me, and like you look at Tyson, like Mike Tyson, but even though Mike Tyson was a small heavyweight, don't make no mistake, Mike Tyson's 5'10" for real. Like I've seen Mike in person before. You know what I mean? I haven't had the pleasure of actually talking to him, but I've seen him in person. He's small, but his mentality and his power and his overall physical prowess was what ran the business for a while. And he was fighting big guys. Now they weren't as talented as some of the big guys now running around nowadays or even in the past, but they were still big guys. And your mindset simply, for me, it was always like this. And I remember I think it was Floyd that said this and made this kind of famous. It's like a good or you have to be a great little guy to beat a good big man. So basically what he's saying is a guy is a notch below you. If he's bigger than you, you're going to have to, it's still going to be a struggle if you win at all. So it's like me fighting Vladimir Klitschko, right? He's 6'7", 244 pounds when we fought. I was about 200. I was about 6'1", about 205 pounds when we stepped into the ring. That is that's 39 pounds difference and about 6 inches in height. You understand what I'm saying? Now, he doesn't have to work as hard as he would normally have to work to a degree with a guy who's smaller. Pause. You know what I'm saying? He wouldn't have to work as hard. There's certain things that he has to do. Now, there is an issue with that, is if the small guy is really like sharp, fast, quick, understands distance, understands range, knows how to punch, knows how to get down, get under you, he can use his height as an advantage in a different way if he's schooled at it. But like me, I've always been so good at boxing, even boxing big guys from the outside and pressing them. It's really difficult to do that when a guy.
How do you do that? Give these guys a free boxing lesson. How do you outbox a taller guy from the outside being the shorter guy? How do you do that? How do you pull that off?
Well, the thing is, you got to understand your role in range. You can't necessarily you should not prototypically box a tall guy from the outside, obviously, right? No matter whether he's slower than you or whatever, because timing beats speed, right? But if you understand defense and you understand range, like I do, like I had to make it my business to understand defense and to understand range more than the average guy at heavyweight. Because even a 6'3" guy, though they're small, they're not nearly as small as I am in comparison. Pause. I said it, but anyway, they're not as short and as that's still bad. Anyway, forget it.
Get it. Move on, man. Move on.
But understand what I have to do is that if I'm fighting a guy like that, like say I'll use Alexander Dimitrhenko, and I've had success with Vladimir at times in the fight, but not enough. But I'll use Alexander Dimitrhenko. He's about 6'8", a little bit. He was a little bit taller than Vladimir, but he had an 84-inch reach. So what I did was I understood that me being a smaller target, he's got to punch down at me, which is very, very dangerous. One of my cardinal sins, whoever I train, whoever I talk to about boxing, they know that the worst things you could do as a fighter is punch down at a guy, because the leverage the guy has, obviously being lower than you already, and you punching down with your head, even if your head's not sticking up, your head is still up higher. Overhand rights, counter left hooks, right uppercuts, all kinds of things are available for a guy at that point. So you have to be very careful. So what Dimitrhenko's doing is he's throwing shots and then understanding defense, right? Understanding the defense on top of it. So when he throws a shot out, even though he may be decent speed, I'm going to be a little bit faster. My leverage is a little bit better. So once his shot misses, if it misses, if I'm doing the right thing and I'm not going east and west and I go north and south, northeast and southwest is what I like to say, or whatever. If I'm trying to pursue him or get closer, he's going to throw a shot. It's going to go past my head and I'll be around at his elbow. So how can he hit me when he throws a punch literally past my head and I'm at his elbow? You understand what I'm saying? Then I'm manipulating the range. So now I can do what I want because he still has to get his hand back for defense, which he's not going to be able to do in that short amount of time. So here comes my offense. And now I'm inside. So now you can kind of play with the range now. Now that you got him in a spot, right? I see somebody say I'm closer to Chris Berg. I know who that is, Mr. Snuggly time.
Well, wise, I agree in body, but big shout out to Dante Selby. He's a professional from the Philadelphia area. I just meant structure wise. He's actually has to overcome disadvantage. Okay. No, nothing else is similar. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, about the Chris Berg. But anyway, if you like I said, if you understand the range and you understand the defense, you'll be able to have more success. Now, it then becomes how long are you going to? And I didn't want to say that, but how long can you last in there dealing with the pressures of fighting a bigger guy? You know what I mean? Because now, like with a Vladimir, he'll lay on you. Pause. He'll push you down. And Vladimir is great guy, great champion, Hall of Famer, surefire, first ballot, all of that, right? But guys that get into that position, they have to do certain things. He's a little bit dirty at times, obviously, right? And great fighters, a lot of great fighters are. So he'll lay on you. He'll push you down. He'll manipulate, especially if you're smaller. He'll do all of those things. So then it becomes harder. So even if you get past his hands, he has a whole bunch of other things that he can use to his advantage. So now he's like I said, he's laying on you. He's pushing you around. He's manipulating the range that way. He's already taller. All he has to do is keep his arms at range and literally put his hands on me, and he'll keep me in a place where I got to struggle and do twice the work just to get close.
Yeah. So we understand the disadvantages. What I just want to know is what's the mindset?
You gotta be mentally focused and prepared and understand that you're not gonna always be the king in there. Sometimes you gotta take second to get to where you want to get to. It's like they say sometimes, when you take a couple shots to give one. You know what I'm saying? You just gotta make sure yours count.
Basically going to the fight saying to yourself, I know this ain't gonna be easy. I know I gotta overcome a lot, but I'm still gonna figure out a way.
The mindset, 100%. The mindset has to be, I'm going in there with this giant of a man or whatever, pause, and I got to be prepared to not only do what is maybe 3 or 4 times the work that he has to get half the results, but I just got to make it count when I do, and I got to be okay with that. And I always went into the fight with that mindset. I'm not saying I wasn't confident, because I was confident, but I did have an understanding of what I was facing. So I didn't push and just think, I'm gonna walk in there and just underestimate a 6'7", 250-something pound guy and think it's gonna be easy just because I'm fast and talented. That doesn't mean anything. You got to get in there. You got to make your plan work. And that was the problem with Vladimir. I couldn't make my plan work because, to be honest, there really wasn't a plan. So when you go into a fight with a big guy, you have to have something tailored to what he's going to be, and at least what you think he's going to be, and then you work from there. And you got to be okay with winning around by a little bit, because if you think you got to dominate it, it's just not going to happen all the time.
Let's come back to that. Let's answer this question right here. Coach Anthony, can you touch on the fact that Davis had to work through some serious punches to find the opening for that uppercut, and how his balance allowed him to execute and twist? That's actually a cool point that you're making about the balance when it comes to the uppercut, because me and Eddie was actually talking about how he positioned his body. Right before that uppercut, he kind of took a small step over to the side, something that we demonstrated in one of our YouTube videos. I believe it was a Mike Tyson video that we did, though, kind of where we did it going from an orthodox stance, where Eddie took a step over to the 5 before he put the right uppercut. It kind of looked like, I have to watch the video again, but it kind of looked like Gervonta took a step over to the 7, and then he ripped that uppercut right on, almost like he slipped, took a small step, ripped the shot, beautiful shot. And that's exactly what Eddie was just talking about as far as having the disadvantages and the advantage. And it's kind of the same mentality of take a little bit to give you something. And that's exactly what Tank did. Tank said to himself, hands up, lock in. I'm walking straight down the line. I'm ripping these hard, mean punches. I know I'm going to get touched. I already felt this power. I know what I can handle. And when he feels what I got, he ain't going to handle it. He knew it. He felt it. He did it, and it worked. Could it have backfired? Absolutely. And it kind of looked like it was starting to backfire in moments. But if you notice the body language that Santa Cruz had, which was a constant reverse, you can see that pressure was getting to him, and it was only a matter of time until Tank would have got his point across. At least that's how it looked in that 6th round of me. What did you think, Eddie?
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that assessment. It was like, you know, the way the fight was going, it was going back and forth a lot. But like I said, it always seemed like it was only a matter of time. And I think Tank had that same mentality in his mind as he was coming and pressing and pursuing. And especially in the last round, it was like, man, I'm not trying to go rounds no more with this dude, because it just seems like if I continue to keep going at the pace I'm going, it'll be somewhat of a boxing match, but he'll end up pressing me enough to impress the judges, enough to be in the fight. And why am I going to take a chance with that when I have this TNT in my gloves? All I got to do is get a couple little good looks, land a big shot, and this game could be over. And it's a smart move, honestly, on Tank's part. It's like, why give this guy opportunities and give this guy rounds? Yeah, he may not knock me out, but my stock can drop. You know what I'm saying? If I'm in here with a guy who I'm supposed to blow away. Now, a lot of guys aren't going to say, oh, he was going to blow him away. He's a champion too. But most people thought he's a bigger, he's stronger, he's more explosive, he's younger. All of those things play into Tank's, in the Tank's hands. So why would Santa Cruz even be in the fight? You know what I'm saying? Why would he have an opportunity to win? And I feel like looking at the way Tank went about the fight, it was like, look, I got to separate myself, and I'm about to do that. And he handled it.
Yeah, and I got to say, man, Tank actually redeemed himself, because I think when he fought Yuriokis Gamboa, even though Gamboa's a veteran and everybody knows that Gamboa's a crafty guy, Olympic gold medalist, a serious, good Cuban boxer, we all felt that Gamboa was a little over the hill. And the fact that Gamboa hurt himself in that fight, I think it was his Achilles heel, an injury that I felt before, you felt before. It ain't no joke.
Yeah.
And he was still able to fight with it and give Tank Davis issues. It kind of put a little question mark and say, well, wait a minute. You know what I'm saying? How good is
he?
How good is he? Like, listen, we all know Tank Davis is a good fighter. And, I got sort of I got sort of a thing, because I work with, Tevin Farmer, and Tevin Farmer and Tank Davis got their little thing going on. And of course, I'm with my people, and I'm rocking with Tevin all the way if that ever happened, regardless. But at the end of the day, we already know whether they had words with each other or whatever, how talented Tank really is. We know that Tank can fight his ass. There's no debate in it. But we know how good he is at that elite level. Today, I felt that he showed why he's at that level. And I think that Santa Cruz showed that he also showed why he's a 4-time world champion. So overall, I'm very impressed with today's performance with Tank. I can't do nothing but give him a good assessment of how he performed. I think he did very well. I don't know if I give him an A+, but he definitely gets a good grade, whether that's a B or A or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he definitely does. He deserved it.
The uppercut was an A+. Ain't no doubt about that.
Plus.
Yeah.
That
punch was a fantastic punch, but he did take a lot of shots. What happens when Tank fights somebody with a little bit more TNT in the gloves?
But see, that's the thing this is the crazy thing about boxing. Styles make fights. And with any of the top guys, with the exception of maybe Lomachenko, and that's if he's really feeling good, being in front of you and throwing combinations, you're not really going to run into a guy that's going to throw the punches that Santa Cruz throws, at least the amount. But you got it in a different way. Now you gotta be careful with the shots you get hit with, 1 or 100 of them. Because if you fighting like Teofimo, if he hits you with 1 shot, it's gonna feel like 10 of Santa Cruz's shots. You understand what I'm saying? So now you have to play it in a different way. Before with Santa Cruz, you gotta be careful with the volume, meaning you can't just leave, stay in there too long. With Teofimo, you can't stay in there for a second too long. Shit, you can't even throw a shot offline too long because then he might catch you with that counter shot. You understand what I'm saying? That counter right up with that counter right hand, that check hook, any of that shit. So what I'm saying is anybody he fights with the ability and the power that Lopez has, it may not be the exact same thing. Like you got to work like with Lomachenko, you would have to worry somewhat with the power and definitely with the volume and the speed and the accuracy of the shots. You know what I'm saying? But with Teofimo, the explosiveness, because now you seeing yourself in a sense when you tank and you going in there at Teofimo. Because if you come in there slipping with him, he catch you with that same shot. You ain't just gonna be walking through it.
What's your thoughts on Ryan Garcia?
The other one too, huh?
Have you watched Ryan Garcia? What are your thoughts on Ryan Garcia? His name's been brought up in the mix. He's been looking good. He's working with Reynoso, Canelo trainer. He seems to be making very good gradual improvements fight by fight. Where does he fit in with Tank Davis?
He's right in there with him. He ranked. The only thing is the opposition. That's it. It's the opposition. It's just like when Teofimo, when you said looking at him before he fought Lomachenko, it's the opposition. It's like you need somebody to really see if you're that guy. And Ryan Garcia has all the speed and punching power and technical ability and all that. Looks good and everything. But none of that matters until you get in front of one of the better guys in the division. And whoever that is going to test him, and hopefully he tests them. But then you'll really know whether he's really that dude or not. Because if he gets in front of Lopez or Tank or Lomachenko or any of these dudes, he's going to be tested. You know what I'm saying? And that's the only difference, man. It's like you see some of these guys coming up, and they'll have 40 or 50 fights, especially the Mexican guys coming from when they were young, like turning pro at like 15, 16 years old, and they coming up here and fighting. And they'll have already like 40 or something, 50 something wins at the age of 20, but they haven't been tested. So then when they get in there with a real guy, sometimes it doesn't necessarily work out the best. You know what I mean? So that's my thing. I'm looking at Ryan Garcia and I'm looking at a lot of these other guys, and they got those inflatable records. And I'm not saying that Ryan Garcia hasn't fought anybody at all, but he hasn't fought anybody to the level of these other 3 guys that we were just talking about. So we need to see that. But as last looks, as his talent and his speed and all his explosive power, all that stuff, yeah, he's right there with everybody in the division.
Right. Yeah, man. It's a real hot division right now. 130, 135 is starting to really spice up, and that's actually a good thing, man. That's actually a good thing. I'm gonna go ahead and share this link with people. We're not gonna be on all night tonight because tomorrow I am a busy man. I got a lot of stuff to do tomorrow. But I will want to chop it up with some of y'all. So I just went ahead and put the link down below. Click the link, get in here, show your face. And let's talk a little bit about what y'all saw tonight. I always like to do that, man. But Eddie, man, what's next, man? That's what I need to know. What's next? I mean, we got some other big fights coming up. We got Danny Garcia, Errol Spence coming up.
I like that. I know.
I mean, I was gonna save that topic. We're gonna go back. We're gonna come back and touch on it. But
I like that. You know why I like that fight? And a lot of people gonna say, "Well, man, Danny ain't been kind of like that with it." And I like that fight because Danny's so explosive with his power, and so is Errol Spence. And Errol Spence is so well rounded with his attack. But when you get in there with Danny, especially like I always said, Errol Spence could be a little bit more solid on defense. And if he's given a guy with the punch of power and explosive strength and all that Danny has an opportunity to land a shot, like you never know. Like I know 90% of people or 95% of people gonna be picking Errol Spence to win that fight without a doubt, and I get why. but you really got to think about what Danny brings to the table. You know what I mean? And I'm telling you, that's a dangerous fight for Earl. As good as he is, it's still a dangerous fight for Earl.
I mean, you know Danny since the amateurs, you know what I'm saying? So watching him come up, man, what are the stylistic changes you've seen from watching him from a kid to, you know, becoming a superstar in the sport?
Man, he jumped up quick. You know what I'm saying? The way, and he kind of out of nowhere, but not really out of nowhere because he had a good amateur career too. It was just early on when I was watching him as a junior, man. It was like he had all the ability and all the skills, all the gifts, but it was like he would get to a certain point and just like let it go. But then something clicked, and he just started picking it up, and then he became one of the top amateurs out there. You know, he was boxing well and all that. But then as he turned pro, I start watching him as a pro, and I'm like, dog, why is he trying to knock out a guy with one punch and not box like he used to box in the amateurs? And I realized it's like when these young guys, when they come up, and even myself to a degree, but I learned early because I'm fighting heavyweight. It wasn't like I was fighting Cruz or like I'm fighting guys my size. But you realize when you put those little gloves on, you start hitting guys without headgear that you punch harder than you think you punch. Right. And then once you put your hands on them and you start seeing people fall, it's like, oh, wait a minute. You mean to tell me I can get paid whatever this money is for like 30 seconds? Like, all right. I'm not going to I'm not taking my time. You know, I'm going to get these dudes out of there. But then you start to rely on that. And then when you get in front of somebody who got real special ability on the other side, then you got to figure it out. And it's like that one punch knockout shit ain't happening as an elite fighter. So now you got to do something else. Yeah, he is dangerous. I saw that.
Danny is good, but Errol and Terrence is on another level. Do you agree with that?
But not really, not on another level where he can't compete with him. And one thing about boxing and in sports in general is if you can compete with a guy, all it takes is one little chink in the arm, one little mistake, and then it's all something different. We could be talking right now about how Earl and Terrence is on another level, which skill-wise and their well-rounded ability, that may be true without a doubt. But all Danny needs is one or two good things to put him to close the gap. And it's like if he can figure out a way to land a big shot in that, and he can do that 10 times out of 10, land a big shot. And if that big shot is good enough to get them out of there, then they're on the same level. If maybe not, maybe Danny's on a higher level. Because styles make fights, man. There's situations where you'll have 4 different guys, and you'll think one guy's better than the other, but the style of it just doesn't work. You know what I'm saying? Most people would have thought Earl would have been like worlds above Sean Porter, but Sean Porter's style gave him the business. It gave him trouble.
Sean Porter is the most underrated fighter of this era.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
He don't never get his props, man.
No. But guess what? He's in every fight. And he's in every single fight. There has not been one time that I see him just get blown out. Like, he's in every fight. I don't care how he does it. I don't care if you like it. Whatever you say, he's in every single fight. You ain't blowing Sean Porter out like that unless you catch him. You understand what I'm saying? Right. So that's what I'm saying. You can have all of these technical and athletic and all of these other abilities over him, but guess what? You still got to get in there and fight. No. It matters. What is it? I'm reading that too.
For y'all,
yo, you see what he just wrote, dog?
Dante had a few rounds with Coach Fast Eddie Chambers.
Yeah. But you know what? It's the accumulation. Nah. But my man, we was working for a long time. We always worked together, and that was when he was new too. So I took advantage. Nah.
Right.
But Earl, I'm looking at that too.
Danny's got equalizer. Do you think Danny carries the power into 147?
Absolutely. Maybe not. It's not as like, oh my God, as it was at 140. But no doubt, you ain't just gonna get in there and fight him and not respect what he's throwing at you. And it's just as if he catch you with that shot, you're going to sleep. Simple as that. If he catch you with the right shot, if a guy who doesn't even punch super hard catches you with the shot at the right spot, it's over. You know what I'm saying? It's just how boxing is, man. It's one of those things where there's no 20-point leads in boxing. There's nothing safe about it. At any point, you could be doing the best business in the world on a guy, and he closes his eyes and throw a shot out, a haymaker out of the dark, out of a situation where like he's almost dead and you're gone.
Have you ever knocked a guy out like that, Eddie? Have you ever knocked a guy out where you just said, you know what, I'm just gonna throw, and then you're like, oh shit.
I fought this guy, and I know his name and everything, and I remember it. I knocked him out in 50 seconds. His name was Anthony Prince. And they told me in the locker room, and this is when I'm all nervous. I'm sitting back there, and he's a big 6'5" dude. And they say, man, he gets better as the fight goes on. You got to do what you got to do and get to him fast. Now, it wouldn't have mattered when this dude started to come on because he would have never came on. I was just too good for him at that time, at that stage. But I'm still young, and I'm still impressionable. I'm listening to what these guys are telling me. And I'm like, man, I got to get him out of it. So the closer you get to the ring, the more confidence you get. It's like what Mike Tyson said. And then you become in the ring. When you get in the ring, you just got a different air about you. You just have a different feeling. And me thinking about that, I was like, I'm gonna get on this dude right away. And when I did, I stopped. I didn't stop. I jumped on him, and I remember I threw a hook, and I seen it. I seen the shot, and I threw the shot. Boom! And I hit him. His mouthpiece literally went in the air like 50 feet. I'm not even exaggerating. And he was asleep on the rope, slumped over to the side. And I was still trying to hit him, man. Could you believe it? Me, still trying to hit somebody when they're basically asleep. And it's like, sometimes you just got to do it. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Now, let me ask you a question, man. What are your thoughts when you see fans say stuff like this?
What's that?
You can't see the question? You can't see the comment?
This one, now I'm looking at it. What?
What's the first thing that goes through your mind? Like, let's educate Mr. Antonio Arcelano over here. Like, what are your thoughts on that? I'm gonna let you handle this as the fighter.
No disrespect to anybody. And maybe he's a fighter. I don't know if he's a fighter or not. But you can't talk and throw stones from a glass house. Leo Santa Cruz, a 4-time world champion. He's been in there with all kind of dudes, from amateur to pro. And you get in there with a killer like Tank Davis, and you say you couldn't even last 9 rounds. This dude was in there working. He was giving a great account of himself in there. But you remember, this is pro boxing. This is not, as much as I love basketball, it's not basketball. It's not a game that you play. This is a warrior sport. When you get in there and you exchanging punches, like you can die in there. Are you telling me he's a disgrace? No, I can't ride with that. Yeah. There's nothing about him that's a disgrace. The only thing that's a disgrace, to be honest, is coming at him crazy about getting knocked out. Like, the things that we have to go through, the training, you know that we get punched in the face for practice. Like, this is how we practice, dog. Like, you can't say that and keep a straight face and really believe that. Because he's probably
just trolling. There's no way. I don't believe that he believes.
I understand. He's going to have fun. But, dog, there's no way. I seen Mikey Garcia. Now, this dude wasn't a boxer, but I seen Mikey Garcia in the ring with a 200 or 300-pound dude beating up on him. So you can't tell me, if you never put the gloves on, you never experienced, when you get in the ring with somebody, I don't give a damn how small they are. You better respect them. Because they put your ass in a coma easily if you ain't ready. You know what I'm saying? So you can't disrespect anybody that gets in there.
I think that's perfect, man. We're going to end it on that note today, man. Today's going to be short and sweet, man. Respect all the fighters. Big shout out to the Warriors who fought tonight. There was actually a few other good undercards on there, but I was busy. And there was a kid out there. They called him the Little Tyson, man. I forget his name, bro. He looked fantastic.
Yeah, I seen the clip on it.
Yeah, he looked fantastic, man. He knocked the kid straight out, man. I never seen him before. Yeah. Me and Eddie Chambers, we're gonna link tomorrow, Eddie. I got some fire. Ooh, yo, Eddie. When the people see the fire, I got the fire, and it's right here in my brain, and we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put it on video, and we're gonna release it to y'all. You know what I'm saying? But tomorrow, Eddie, I need you so we can record a couple of videos. you know, and I can release it week by week like I've been doing. We're gonna
Okay.
keep the Q&As going. We're gonna keep these post-fight, you know, live streams going, you know, and I was gonna go ahead and take some people. I did put the link there. People are signing up to come in, but I want to keep it short and sweet because tomorrow I have to get up and I got a bunch of people I got to train and I got a bunch of stuff I got to do. But I want to give a big shout out to everybody. It was a good short hour. We talked about the fight. We talked a little bit. I hope Eddie educated y'all a little bit on the mindset that it takes to be a fighter, and we're gonna keep this going, baby.
Yes, sir.
You already know, y'all. Boxing life.